give the boy some credit. For a half-done repaint of Beast Wars Megatron, this actually looks pretty cool. From Transformers Cybertron, this is Beast Megatron. So this mold has a very long and complicated history. Suffice it to say that Cybertron and the 10th anniversary of Beast Wars coincided, and there were two new molds made for the 10th anniversary line for Beast Wars, that being a Deluxe Optimus Primal and a Deluxe Megatron. Both of those figures were then brought over to Cybertron and were given alternate paint schemes to actually be Cybertron Optimus and Cybertron Megatron in an alternate timeline where they were from the Jungle Planet. And that's the reason why, even though these were Beast Wars molds, they're using the aesthetics of Cybertron and include Cyberplanet keys. Is that complicated enough for you? Because I'll be honest, it took me a few times to actually figure out where these guys were supposed to go. Just know, if it's purple, it's Beast Wars. If it's green, it's Cybertron. Also, just keep this in mind. When these figures came out, they were the first attempt to redo the Beast Wars characters in new toy form. So you had Primal and you had Megatron. Primal was a little bit rough. He was using too much of a surfboard gimmick, and the figure overall was just a bit finicky. Megatron, though? I might get hate for this. I think this is the best Hasbro-made version of version 1 Beast Wars Megatron. When it comes to his original body, I think this toy is more playable than the original, and I also think it's better than the Kingdom version, even though he still has quite a few issues. It's just, he's a little bit more to toy with. I could see some people having issues with the aesthetics here. Do know that it came out in the proper Beast Wars Megatron colors as well, but I do like the Cybertron colors. It's very different, and I think they all look great together. It helps that it's all a reference to Armada Predacon, so much so that I kind of like to think that this is Predacon before he became a Transmetal. Past that, you do have good articulation. You have a ball joint at the head, universal at the shoulder, a good upper arm cut on the dino head, as well as an elbow joint and a wrist swivel. Well, I guess that's a head swivel for the dino head. You also have the universal over here, and just a hinge, no wrist swivel on this side. You have a waist swivel, ball joint at the hip, a good upper leg cut, a good single joint knee, and then you have both ankle pivot and toe pivot and the heel spur pivot. So this guy has a good bit of articulation on the go. Past that, he's a good sizable deluxe. If I were to pull in my Dark of the Moon Voyager Shockwave, you can see he's only a little bit shorter than a Voyager. Here, allow me to fix my camera. He's only a little bit shorter than a Voyager. So for a deluxe, he's actually really sizable. It's great looking. So this guy would have been great bang for your buck when he came out. And he has an accessory. That being his tail. In both the original toy and Kingdom, this guy is permanently attached. So you can't have just a normal hand. I'm so happy. That's the reason why I think this is the best version of the figure, is entirely the fact that you can have the hand or you can have the tail. Only issue is, it's kind of hard to get the tail back in hand. Oh, wow. Yeah, really hard to actually get him to hold this thing. And once he does, it doesn't look great, admittedly. Does not look great at all. I mean, I guess you can kind of get him in some good poses, like maybe kind of more like a pointing pose. Man, it's not great. But it's okay, guys. You see this missile here? Well, that's supposed to be a gimmick launcher. Like all things in Cybertron, this figure came with a Cyberplanet key, and that weapon is supposed to be what you use it for. Here's my Cyberplanet key, and I'm going to plug it in right now. Okay, ready? Ready? Watch it fly. Watch it fly when it goes. Yeah. My figure's Cyberplanet key gimmick is busted. To be fair, I got this guy pre-owned, and this happens sometimes. Thankfully, the toy itself is fine. It does mean that you're never going to be able to use the missile launcher, and that kind of sucks. Alongside that, age has affected this figure in a very different way. He has some very loose hips. Makes it a little bit hard for him to keep a pose sometimes. He's a great looking toy, and if you got him straight out of the box, I think he would have been excellent. But ravages of time affects us all, doesn't it? Even still, you can get so many great poses with the guy that I don't really mind. His looks, his aesthetics, are to die for. I love this great meeting point between Beast Wars and Cybertron. It makes this feel like kind of a full circle figure for back in the day. At the same time, I do wish that maybe a couple things had aged better on this poor boy. It just seems as though he's a bit weak at the knees, weak at the hips, can't use his gun. I would dare say that Beast Wars Megatron would be disappointed to know that this new version of him has such a hard time standing up for his convictions. But hey, at least he looks good with Armada Predacon, and now you can really see what I'm talking about. I can't help but think that Cybertron Beast Megatron has to be at least partially inspired by the Predacon deco. Too many of the colors overlap. This is still my preferred figure, but this is a pretty solid one all things considered too. Oh, yes. All the issues I had with Beast Megatron as a robot just do not apply to the Tyrannosaurus Rex mode. I think that this is a wonderful looking, more Cybertron style beast. He's very techno-organic, you can see a lot of circuit board design and great sculpted detail throughout, but there's also the fact that by adding this burgundy and green color, he still has this very gross and naturalistic palette tone to him. Similar to, again, Armada Predacon, the color scheme is what's really helping this mold stand out when it's not in the purple. Alongside that, you have a good length here, and articulation's actually pretty solid. So you have a swivel at the neck, and a universal here, and you can articulate the jaw. You have ball joints at these little dino arms, ball joints in the hips, and all the normal leg articulation. The tail can't do much, but you can get so many great separate looks for this guy. You can make it look like a dog who's about to beg. You can make him look a little bit more imposing and looking down. You can even give him like a good, like maybe he's about to just straight up bite into a dude look. The hips are still a little bit loose here. Again, unfortunately, that's just a reality of age. But when you get past that, there's ways to tighten up ball joints, and you're going to be getting one of the better Transformers T-Rexes of all time. I really, really like this toy. I hate that mine has such weak ball joints, but that's a reality of older ball joints. They're going to give out over time. And I hope that doesn't take away from the fact that I do think this is an impressive toy. It's not the best Beast Wars Megatron ever, but I think it's a great alternative, especially if you want one at the deluxe scale as opposed to a leader scale. You're able to get a great new deco on the guy, and overall, he's just a fun figure. Not the best, not perfect, and unfortunately, the Ravages of Time are going to affect both articulation and the Cyber Planet Key gimmick. But if you can get past all that, if you can get past the fact that spring-loaded gimmicks just will never stay alive in perpetuity, they are going to wear out eventually, I would recommend this guy. More so as a T-Rex than as a robot, but both modes are fun and give you a pretty unique experience. Plus, I mean, it's more economic than getting the original Beast Wars Megatron, and he's not as bad as Kingdom Megatron, which maybe one day I'll explain to you the beef I have with that figure.